creation comes something from nothing, as opposed to cause and effect. What does that mean? If the only true reality is God, He's the authentic being. Before God created the world, there's only Him. After He creates the world, guess what? There's also only Him. Before Him, we are as naught. We're like the ray of sun within the sun. So what does that mean? That God creates the world something from nothing. Even if He created it cause and effect, would that not be the same thing? So it's true. It would be the same thing. But only from God's perspective, it would be that way. From God's perspective, which we call Das Elyon, the elevated supernal knowledge and awareness and perspective of creation, we would give me one brief second. I'm sorry. I'm in the middle of teaching, but many people online, so I'll call you back shortly. Okay. Hope I'm still there. Okay. Sorry, folks. Someone with some kind of urgency, but there's urgency and there's urgency. Is Instagram working still? Oh, my apologies here. One second, folks. My apologies. What's going on here? All right, there we go. So in the act of creation, something from nothing is how we've been created. Why is that necessary? Why can't it be just as we understand and experience life in this world, cause and effect? Everything in this world is cause and effect. Nothing outside of that realm. We're not aware of anything outside of that realm. What would be the terrible thing to say? That God creates this world through cause and effect, and not something from nothing. Again, before Him, He's the only reality. We are like the ray of sun within the sun. If that's the case, we're like the ray of sun within the sun, and we're completely nullified. It doesn't matter how God creates the world. And that's true. That's true. From His perspective, it's true. What we call Das Elyon, the higher supernal perspective. That we are like the ray of sun within the sun, and we're just a part of Him. We're not outside of Him. Now, parenthetically, what does that got to do with freedom of choice and so on? We're not going to go there right now. That becomes a question, of course. But we'll see. But the reason why the world and me and you have to be created something from nothing, and not through cause and effect, the Ilah va'olol, this is called in Hebrew, is because from our perspective, cause and effect means a chain reaction of things, which means the effect is only an effect because of its cause that precedes it. They're not really distant from each other, just like two links in a chain are not really distant from each other. And therefore, from our perspective, if we were created cause and effect, we would be totally linked to our cause, which ultimately, even though it might be many chain reactions that leads to it, we would have a very clear awareness, perception, experience of our effect. Just like, if someone stepped on your toes, you have a clear awareness of the pain that you're suffering that someone stepped on your toes. Someone, rear-ended you with their car, they cause the effect of you being thrust forward. You're very much aware of the cause. When you have a bad feeling towards someone because you were just thinking negatively about them, well, that thought is the cause of that bad feeling. You're very much aware of that. So we would be very much aware of our divine source if God were to create us something from nothing. From his perspective, anyways, we're like the ray of sun within the sun. But from our perspective, if we were created from this cause and effect, this chain reaction, then we would also sense how God is our source, and we only exist by virtue of him. And we would not have a true sense of independence. But when we're created something from nothing, that nothing, why do we call it nothing? It's from God. Why are we calling God nothing? Because it's no thing for us. But in two levels. One, intellectually, we don't, and perception-wise, we don't perceive. Yes, we have Tanya to teach us, but in our own minds, without Tanya, what would be our intellectual perception? I exist. I am. Of course there's a God, but that's removed. I am an independent being that can make my own choices, lead my life, so on and so forth. And not to say that you don't have choices, but we're going to leave that question aside right now. So we feel when we say we are created as a something that is substantial, that is real, because my source is from no thing, because I don't intellectually get that I am like a ray of sun within the sun. Like, no. Yes, again, we learned that in Tanya, right? We learned that in Tanya, but it's definitely not the natural intellectual understanding that we have. Furthermore, it's no thing because my experience, let alone my intellectual understanding and awareness, but my experience is I am, I exist, I'm real. And that comes because we created something from nothing. Let's give an example of what that means, something from nothing. Imagine with your mind, with your intelligence, you created a rock. Do you think that rock would have any inkling, awareness of the source that it came from your brain that created it? Absolutely not. It just is. So you intellect a rock. You created a rock. Its awareness is zippo of its source. infinitely more so. God is something from no thing, from nothing, from beyond our experience and understanding. We don't get it. And that allows us to be, in the physical world, to have a sense of selfhood, of independence. Now, why that is not the discussion over here. Ultimately, it's in order to come to a recognition that God, that gives us then that capability to come to a recognition that that's not the authentic, true reality, but that's our service, that's our work, that's what we got to do, is to, and that's what this teachings here bring us and help us to come to the true, deeper understanding of reality. But that can only happen when naturally, instinctually, that's not what we sense. We sense I am. Therefore, I'm important. I feel me. I feel my needs. I feel my importance. I feel, and that's what we live out until we learn Tanya. There's something greater. But more of that, on that to come. All right. L'chaim, everybody. L'chaim. Any questions? Any comments? Hope there's clarity there. A reminder tonight, 7:30 will be Torah studies. Actually, it'll be a prep for Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is coming. The Shabbat Shabbos and the Sabbath of Sabbaths. We need to prepare for it properly. Come join us tonight, 7:30 on Facebook, Chabad ZK, or on Zoom. Come on Zoom. You can be part of a growing family. And tomorrow will be TRC at 4:30 in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. It's all these times. Yeah, I see no questions, which means we have clarity. I hope. Excuse me. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zurich and Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you, Tanya. Have an amazing day. Thank you for joining.